I'm very fond of the essay, and I've read essays from Montaigne to Joseph Epstein, a modern person. And Joseph Epstein is my favorite. He is I'm not alone in being a fan, he is the winner of the National Humanities Medal from the National Endowment for the Humanities, although I think in today's era, the last few years, I doubt if he would have been given that award, as I think you'll tell from this essay. But I love it. This is one of my favorites. It's called Our Gladiators, subtitle of Tiger Woods and Those Who Play for Our Amusement. Between the national... Oh, by the way, I have edited, so it's a very long essay, and this is roughly half of it. I picked out the half that I think is most interesting. Anyway, between the National Football League's motto, "Football is family," or the National Basketball Association's assertion, "The NBA cares," which has the lower truth quotient? Without the finest calibrated of instruments, it is, I suspect, impossible to measure. Why the need for this sad public relations effort on behalf of football and basketball and of professional sports generally? Part of the answer is that there is something askew about the entire enterprise, at least in its contemporary phase. How else consider a situation in which players in their 20s and early 30s are able to earn millions of dollars hitting or throwing or kicking balls or banging pucks or one another around before audiences willing to pay exorbitant sums to watch them do it? Two of the three major American professional sports, football and basketball, have a preponderance of African American players. For football, the percentage is 64%, basketball 75%. Of NBA games, a friend of mine noted that the games are not over when the fat lady sings, but instead when the white guys go in. One of the sad jokes of our time is the term scholar-athlete to describe college jocks. Even student-athlete has come to have a bitter, unreal ring. The proof of this is in the pre- and post-game barely literate interviews with professional athletes. Years ago, it was said of a certain NBA All-Star that he led the league in, From a fairly early age, gifted athletes often live a privileged status. Today, kids with professional athletic ability are spotted as early as 13 or 14 and cultivated by high school coaches and sometimes college coaches. For a brief spell, some of the best players in the NBA took a pass altogether on college, and many others took up the option known as one and done, and departed college after a year with a hefty contract for the NBA and all the associated rewards that go with it. The effects of such early adulation on personality aren't easily reckoned. A number of years ago, the Chicago Bulls basketball team had a player, Scottie Pippen, whose sobriquet around town was No Tippin' Pippen, owing to his being known for never leaving a tip at restaurants. But then how could he have known about tipping when all his life he probably never had to pick up a check? But the real toll on superior athletes may be in the narrowing of perspective and therefore personality that great athletic prowess often brings in its train. To become a great athlete calls for endless practice to the exclusion of much else in life. The rewards for the truly promising are palpable. Imagine you're a 20-year-old in top physical shape playing in the NBA or NFL or MLB and earning, say, $8 million a year with the promise of, barring serious injuries, lots more to come. How would any of us non-athletes at that stage with that kind of money available have come through? Could we handle it, keep it all in perspective? Sports Illustrated published a study that showed that 2 years after retirement, 78% of NFL players were either broke or struggling financially, and after 5 years of retirement, 60% of NBA players were broke. Sad though this is, it doesn't seem in the least shocking. I've recently read a 485-page biography of Tiger Woods and found it unexpectedly fascinating, not least on the topic of the perils of the life of the highly successful professional athlete. Eldrick Taunt Woods, Tiger Woods, who is now 47, still on the PGA Tour, planning to play in a number of tournaments in 2023, including the Masters, need not worry soon about his own fame diminishing. Even in our day, when the word millionaire has lost much of its punch, Woods' earnings are impressive. His agent at the International Management Group brought in roughly $120 million in endorsements for him from Nike, American Express, Disney, Gillette, General Motors, Rolex, Accenture, Gatorade, General Mills, and the video game company called EA Sports. He was paid $1 million merely to appear in one golf tournament in Germany, $3 million to appear in another in Australia. His instructional book, How I Play Golf, sold 1 million copies in hardcover. By 2010, he is said to have earned more than $1 billion through golf and investment deals. His caddy, for God's sake, earned $12 million over 11 seasons with him. Woods had enough money to be able to pay one of his 14 acknowledged mistresses $10 million in hush money. making our president's alleged payment of $130,000 to Stormy Daniels seem like chump change, in hopes of keeping his marriage intact. As his biographers note, one of the perks of being a celebrated athlete is that tact and personality are not prerequisites for securing female companionship, end quote. Woods took sufficient advantage of this perk, so that for the better part of 4 years, the National Enquirer, the scandal sheet, had him under nearly full-time surveillance. The Enquirer did eventually run a study about his extramarital affairs, but everything really fell apart when Ellen, his wife, and the mother of his 2 young children discovered texts on his phones from one of his mistresses. Things get a bit blurry here. What is known that at 2 a.m. on one night, Woods rushed from his house, got into his Cadillac Esplanade SUV, lost control peeling out of his own driveway, ran over a fire hydrant, and wound up crashing into a tree in his neighbor's yard. His biographers write, quote, "When the police arrived after responding to a 911 call from Tiger's neighbor, they found that both sides of the back seat of the vehicle had been smashed out with a golf club that had been swung by Ellen." This provided a splendid feast for the gutter press and a lengthy Schadenfreudian holiday for us in the media generally. From the New York Times to Us Weekly, everyone had a shot at Tiger, golf great and cheating husband. His biographers report that he appeared on the front page of the New York Post 21 days in a row, surpassing the previous record of 20 consecutive covers devoted to the 9/11 terrorist attacks. "God, the media is pounding me," Tiger said to a friend, a former golf instructor named Hal Caney. "They're such vultures." Tiger Woods claimed not simply abysmal irresponsibility for his errant sexual rompings, but the latest psychological excuse, sex addiction. W.H. Auden claimed that the motto of psychology ought to be, "Have you heard this one?" And not long after crashing his car, he went into a facility for sex addiction in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Although he publicly apologized for his adulteries, his wife divorced him. Perhaps more important, his golf game went into a deep hole. He failed to win a tournament for a full 5-year stretch. His PGA ranking dropped from his perennial 1st to 13th. His father, Earl, an African-American and retired U.S. Army lieutenant colonel, referred to his son as the chosen one, and early in Tiger's professional career claimed that because of his son's half-black, half-Thai ethnicity, quote, "he'll have the power to impact nations. Not people, nations," end quote. Tiger was raised one stage beyond pampered. His biographers tell us that as a boy, he was never asked to do household chores, never held a job, mowed lawns, delivered newspapers, or did anything else. Golf was his only job. This narrowing of Tiger Woods' interest produced a less than impressive, one might even say less than full, human being. As a boy, apart from golf, and his father did not permit him to play other sports lest he injure himself, he spent long hours at video games. He had few friends. Gratitude seems not to have been in his quiver of emotions. Later in life, once his fame is set in, according to his biographers, quote, "For Tiger, even the most basic of civilities, a simple hello or thank you, went missing from his vocabulary," end quote. A Vegas nightclub owner said, quote, "He got mean," end quote. A sports journalist named Jimmy Roberts reported that, quote, "There's more fuck you in Tiger Woods than in any athlete I have ever seen," end quote. Perhaps all major athletes have to be self-centered, but as his biographers write, quote, "The secret to Tiger's dominance in golf was he was the most one-dimensional human being on the PGA Tour," end quote. As a young man, Tiger Woods claimed he wanted to be, quote, "the Michael Jordan of golf." He later became close to Jordan, thought of himself as his younger brother, the same Michael Jordan of whom the authors, Benedict and Kayati, and the authors of the biography that's been referred to here, claim that, quote, "One didn't have to travel far to find stories of Woods' barely tipping or stiffing caddies, locker room attendants, card dealers, bartenders, or of his driving his tricked-out North Carolina blue golf cart down the middle of a freeway, music blaring as he blew by one foursome or another while yelling, 'Hurry the fuck up, you guys are slow as fuck,' end quote. In our professional athletes, we have created a gladiator class, not to be sure an enslaved class like the gladiators in Rome, but a highly paid and privileged one. Yet gladiators in function, our contemporary athletes remain. A function much the same as their Roman precursors, to provide circuses, hold the bread, for a large portion of the male citizenry of the American public. This gladiatorial status is true across the spectrum of professional sports. Even tennis, once a vaguely aristocratic game, has felt the deadening hand of professionalism through the infusion of huge sums of money. First prize money for men and women in the U.S. Open this past year, $3.8 million. That's one tournament. And that's just the first prize. When tennis players win tournaments, they now customarily thank their team. By team, they mean coach or coaches, trainers, physicians, and psychologists. Think of it. We have been paying a select group of overly trained men and a few women grand sums at the expense of their not leading normal lives, to perfect and perform for our pleasure what are in effect games devised for children. Then there is the obvious yet still disturbing fact that we fans of many of these games are more loyal to the teams we follow than are the men who play for these teams. I still run into the occasional older man who has never forgiven the Dodgers for moving to Brooklyn to Los Angeles. In an earlier day, great professional athletes DiMaggio, Stan Musial, Bob Cousy, Johnny Unitas, Gordie Howe stayed their entire careers with the same team in the same cities. Now with free agency, arbitration, sports agents, a player is offered more money and it's, yo dude, catch you later. The contradictions inherent in professional sports, and playing them, watching them, paying for them, are too glaring to overlook. Yet most of those among us who spend a disproportionate amount of our time engaged with them overlook these contradictions easily enough. Has the time come to cease to do so? I suspect it has. Anyway, that is the essay by Joseph Epstein, as I said, National Humanities Award winner. Our Gladiators, subtitle of Tiger Woods and Those Who Play for Our Amusement. As usual, most of my, these videos are my own writing, but I have become a huge fan of Joseph Epstein. And this is one of my favorites of his essays. As usual, I welcome, and I thought you might like it too. So as usual, I welcome your thumbs up and accept your thumbs down. I always like your comments and especially look forward to your hitting the share button below, sharing on your social media so that my efforts can have broader impact. And I am flattered if you choose to subscribe to my channel. In any event, I do thank you for watching. I am Marty Nemko.